1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Good evening. My name is Steve Kaufman. I'm a fire captain with the Ventura County Fire Department, and I serve as the Public Information Officer for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 4. This is the fire update for the campfire, November 13th, 2018, 1801 hours, 6:01 p.m. I'm going to start off with the most current acreage. We're at 130,000 acres, 35% contained. Total personnel assigned to the incident is 5,615. Total citizens evacuated still holds at 52,000, and the total sheltered still holds at 1,385. I'm going to go over the numbers of our destroyed and damaged structures. Single family residence damaged, 75. Single family residence destroyed, 7,600. Multiple residents damaged, 11. Destroyed, 95. Mixed commercial residential damaged, 0. Destroyed, 3. Non-residential commercial properties damaged, 32. Destroyed, 260. Other minor structures damaged, 30. Destroyed, 859. Which brings us a grand total of damaged structures to 148. Destroyed structures, 8,817. I'd now like to bring up our Operations Section Chief.
Good evening. Josh Bischoff, Battalion Chief in the Riverside Unit. I serve on Incident Management Team 4 as an Operational Section Chief. I'm going to go over the operational update from today and some of the plans going forward for tomorrow. First off, starting up at the heel of the fire on the northeast corner near the Feather River, we were able to, around the Big Bar area of the Bear Ranch comm tower, we were able to continue to build line coming off of that comm tower and proceed down south through the Big Bar Ranch area. We were able to not only start constructing primary line, but we were also able to construct secondary line in that area, utilizing dozers and masticators to try and bring those containment lines down towards the Big Bend area. We've been working very hard in the Big Bend area for several days, not only with structure defense, but also perimeter control. We had a very successful day in the Big Bend area. For the first time in a couple days, we actually had good visibility, where we were able to fly fixed-wing aircraft and deliver retardant and assist the hand crews that are working in that steep, inaccessible terrain, working down towards the river drainage. On the north side of Big Bend, we were almost able to tie into the drainage. And on the south side of the Big Bend, we were able to come within about 1,000 feet and are still progressing to tie into the drainage. Over in the Bloomer Mountain area, we also were able to fly fixed-wing aircraft and make good progress. Our crews were able to cut hand line down to the drainage on the north side there of Bloomer Mountain. We were able to plumb that with hose lays And then on the south side, we've been using dozer line to push down, following an old burn scar down towards the river bottom, and we'll be preparing for a burn operation to tie that bottom part of Bloomer Mountain in. We had a lot of success on the Cherokee side today as well. We were able to tie in the direct and indirect containment lines, and we'll be preparing for a small burn operation to tie that into the river drainage bottom there. We continued our mop-up and patrol along the 99 corridor and up the 32 corridor. In the town of Paradise, Magalia, Concow, there was a lot of work. We continue to find hot spots and dangerous hazardous areas, but we continue to work hard and put a lot of equipment in there to try and mitigate those hazards. In the Santos Ranch area, we also had a successful day. Although we had poor visibility and were not able to fly any aircraft, we were able to make good progress. We have a burn operation planned in there for this evening that will tie in from Helltown up to Nimshu and connect that area below Magalia. Above Magalia, moving towards Sterling City, the fire did continue to progress. We were able to put secondary and primary dozer line around Sterling City to kind of help guide the fire away from Sterling City. We were successful in doing that, and we're continuing to build direct and indirect line across the top and working back down towards the river drainage. Today was a very successful day. However, there was a lot of challenges. The swirling winds and the limited visibility in multiple areas, along with the steep, inaccessible terrain, were some of the main challenges for today. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Aviva Braun. I'm a meteorologist with the National Weather Service based out of Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm here serving as an incident meteorologist with CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 4. So we're going to continue having dry conditions tonight, tomorrow, and through the end of the week. But what will be different is that the winds will be slightly lighter overall. Tonight we'll have the development of northeast winds. They will be strongest along the ridges and through the Feather River drainage. They're going to be around 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts of 20. Tomorrow they're going to shift and become upslope, up valley, but light. Now what this means for you in terms of air quality is that the air quality will be poor as the light winds allow the smoke to settle every single morning. It'll be worse in the morning, and with a little bit of mixing we'll have some better air quality by the afternoon. Now looking ahead, we're looking at conditions becoming more favorable for potential rain around Thanksgiving. And we'll keep an eye on that for you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Pangburn. I'm a forester with CAL FIRE San Benito Monterey Unit, and I'm a fire behavior analyst for CAL FIRE Team 4. Fuels continue to be extraordinarily dry. It has been 212 days since the lower elevations here have received a half an inch of rain, and we are seeing record levels of fuel dryness and availability. So the area remains quite ready for continued fire growth. So we are not fully out of the woods yet, but firefighters are doing their part to make sure that we are keeping communities safe. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Almaguer, and I'm the Public Information Officer for Butte County Public Health. I'm here to speak with you about how to safely return to your home and property. Our intent is to provide this information to you in advance so you have time to receive the information and prepare. As access becomes available to the areas affected by the Camp Fire, there's important health and safety information that you need to be aware of. First and foremost, residents will be entering these areas at their own risk. Affected areas will have limited to no resources. These include no power, no water, no phone or cell service, and no ability to call 911. There are 4 primary areas of concern. The first is hazardous fire debris. When everyday household items come in contact with extreme heat, they become hazardous materials. They are concentrated in the ash and the soil and are hazardous to you and your family. Burned properties will have the following health and safety risks for residents. Potential falling limbs and trees, potential collapsed walls and chimneys, entrapment hazards due to burned tree roots, collapsed or compromised septic tanks, missing septic tank covers, or collapsed basements. Well water may be contaminated. Bottled drinking water should be used. And lastly, an N95 mask will not protect against asbestos. There are concerns about what you wear as you get access to these properties. Make sure you have gloves, make sure you have long pants, make sure you have boots, no flip-flops, no shorts. And if you do have helmet protection, that's recommended. Use extreme caution when in and around what appears to be cold ash. It still may contain heat. The second area of concern is property cleanup. Butte County is working to secure assistance from state agencies that will ensure proper handling and disposal of debris and ash from the fire. In the meantime, in order to protect your health and the health of your neighbors and community, property owners may not remove any ash or debris without authorization from Butte County Environmental Health. The third area of concern is tree damage. Many trees have been identified as hazardous due to the fire and will be removed in the coming days. These trees may be on your property or near your property. Upon return, you may see trees marked with white spray paint. They will have one of two codes. The first code is P1. This is extreme hazard and they may fall at any time. The second code is P2. These are hazardous and they're scheduled for removal. The final area of concern is food safety. The affected areas have not had power since the fire started. Food is considered unsafe after power loss of 4 or more hours. We are days into this emergency. If you have food remaining at your home or property, all food should be discarded. Never taste food to determine safety. You can't rely on appearance or odor to determine food safety. If your refrigerator has been non-operational for an extended period of time, the food inside has gone bad. Once you have discarded the contents, you should clean the inside of your refrigerator, rinse it with clean water, clean soapy water, and then sanitize with a water and bleach solution. Again, this is our intent to provide information to you in advance so you have time to prepare. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Corey Honey, and I'm the Sheriff and Coroner of Butte County. As I've said in prior press briefings, the information that I have for you tonight is based on the best information I have available today. But as you know, this is an ever-changing situation, and there may come a time where I need to update or correct information as new facts are developed. I'll start off by telling you a bit of good news. Last night, we were able to lift the evacuation warnings that had been issued for the Thermalito area. For those of you who are out of the area or not from here, that is near Oroville, part of the greater Oroville area. In addition to that, we have a number of campfire-related arrests and other significant events to tell you about. To date, we have had 208 suspicious incidents or calls of suspicious persons or circumstances within the evacuated areas. Of those 208 incidents, 18 of them were specifically reported to be looting. Our law enforcement assets in the area went out and ultimately investigated that. Yesterday, Butte County Sheriff's Office deputies arrested 2 men. The first identified as Jason Burns, age 41, of Chico. The second, Michael Salisbury, age 48, of Reno. They were found inside a residence in the Centerville area of Butte County which is inside one of the areas that is currently under an evacuation order. They were not supposed to be in that house, and they were found to be in possession of a gun that was registered to a person who lives in Paradise. They were ultimately arrested and booked into the Butte County Jail for being felons in possession of firearms, possession of an assault weapon, possession of controlled substances, and being a prohibited person of those items, as well as being in an evacuated area where they shouldn't have been. In addition to that, earlier this morning, deputies made contact with two men in the area of Honey Run Road in Chico, another area that is under investigation. During the course of that contact, an individual by the name of Teddy King, age 27, of Paradise, as well as a subject by the name of John Brown, age 38, of Oroville, were found to be in possession of a laptop computer that is suspected to be stolen. They were also in possession of drugs, and they had a ski mask with them, which the investigators thought was unusual or curious and suspected they might have been trying to conceal their identity. They were arrested and taken to the Butte County Jail. And they were booked on charges of being in possession of controlled substances, possession of paraphernalia, and being in the area where they shouldn't have been. Also this morning, deputies spotted a motorhome in the Chico area that had been previously reported stolen out of Magalia. Deputies stopped that vehicle and arrested Shane Tinnell Jr., age 22, from Magalia, as well as Tracy Sizer, age 42, of Magalia, and both were charged with vehicle theft, possession of stolen property, and looting. After this press conference, my office will issue a press release with more details about those arrests, as well as the correct spelling of their name and their booking photos. Needless to say, I have warned people time and time again during the course of these press briefings that if you're in these evacuated areas when you shouldn't be, and you are violating the law or taking advantage of these poor citizens who are displaced, we're going to stop you, we're going to investigate, and we're going to take you to jail if we find that you're violating the law. This has been a fairly hectic day for us, a lot of activity, a lot of things have been going on. I spoke to you last night about some additional resources that we were bringing in to help us with our efforts, and those resources are beginning to arrive and be deployed. I don't have a lot of update on where we're at with that because, frankly, I wanted my staff to spend time doing the important work that they're doing as opposed to taking time away from that to provide me more information so that I could update you. I understand there's a need for information. I absolutely respect that, and I want to do that, but I also think it's important to let my people do their job. And so tomorrow we'll work on trying to update some of the information with regard to the resources that we have in play here. I will tell you that we continue in our effort to identify and locate people who have been reported missing or who are otherwise unaccounted for. And in that vein, our detectives and the staff working with them spent time compiling a list from all of the calls we have been receiving of those people who are unaccounted for and suspected of missing. We are going to publish that list once we get it completed, and when we do, we're going to ask members of the public to look at the list to determine whether or not they are on it. One of the things that we have found is that there are people out there who their loved ones suspect that they're missing or they're unaccounted for. They report them as missing and unaccounted for, but they don't, in fact, know that they're missing or that someone is looking for them. And so in that regard, it'll help us close the loop. can stop our search for you and start looking for someone else. Again, the numbers to the call center are 538-6570, 538-7544, 538-7671, and again, those are all 530 area code numbers. We know that people were receiving busy signals and not being able to get through. We think we've corrected that problem. Our staff is working diligently to answer all of those calls or return the messages. We have received a lot of calls, so there's been a lot of work being done in that regard. In addition to the resources I told you we ordered last night, today we put in another order for 100 National Guard troops. They will work in conjunction with all of the other assets or resources that we have who are searching for human remains. We've ordered those National Guard troops because we want to be able to cover as much ground as quickly as we possibly can. We're hopeful that by doing that, when the time comes to allow people back into the area, once all of the other safety issues are addressed, then we can be reasonably sure that we have human remains. I want to tell you, though, this is a very, very difficult process. And there is certainly the unfortunate possibility that even after we've searched an area, once people get back in there, it's possible that human remains could be found. I want you to understand we're going to do everything we possibly can to diligently search for those remains. But this is a very difficult task. If that were to occur, we would certainly want whoever located those to contact our office immediately so we can get out there and begin a proper investigation. And I know that that's a very difficult thing to think about, but that's the difficult situation that we find ourselves in today. In addition, we are working to expedite the process of identifying the remains so that we can notify the next of kin. And we are going to be working, the California Department of Justice DNA lab is going to be working in conjunction with a private company that has volunteered to bring assets in to help us. That is ANDE, A-N-D-E, Rapid DNA Identification System. They're bringing those assets in as we speak. And what that will allow us to do is quickly generate DNA identifications. The system performs DNA processing in a fully automated manner, so it can be performed by our investigative teams, and this will allow us to identify those victims, hopefully within days, and bring closure to the grieving families. This is, as I understand it, cutting-edge technology. This is a monumental event, and I think it's appropriate to bring to bear as many resources that we possibly can. I want to remind people that due to the ongoing emergency here and the volume of work and our staff limitations, our main lobby will be closed again tomorrow, but you can come to the sheriff's office and go to the jail lobby to report crimes. My office remains on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We will still respond to emergencies and deal with criminal matters, including the efforts that we have dedicated towards the campfire. And as I close here, as I've said again and again, one of the hardest parts of this particular job is to provide you with an update on where we're at with the recovery of human remains. And so today, an additional 6 human remains were recovered, which brings the total to 48. All 6 of those remains were located in Paradise, and they were located within homes. And that is the end of my report for tonight. As we go forward, I'll try to get you more updates on some of the things we've talked about. But again, I want my staff to be able to do as much work as they possibly can. And if that means that we have to wait a little while to get the updates, then I think that's appropriate. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing. Michael Ramsey, the District Attorney of Butte County, asked me to pass this along. He is taking an aggressive stance towards reported price gouging, if that involves hotel rooms or gas or rents or anything of that nature. If you are a person who suspects that you are the victim of price gouging or being taken advantage of because of the situation, where Mr. Ramsey, the district attorney, asks that you call 1-866-DA-FRAUD or 1-866-323-7238. And I think that price gougers are probably in the same category as looters.
Good evening. My name is Steve Griffin. I work for the United States Forest Service. I'm one of the Unified Incident Commanders. Our agency is here assisting CAL FIRE with the incident and also addressing some of the issues on the public lands. So, thank you.
Good evening, and thanks for coming out again. I'm Todd Durham, Incident Commander assigned to CAL FIRE Team 4 and serving as one of the Unified Commanders on the incident. I just have a couple quick items, and then we can get to our questions and stuff. First of all, we've increased the number of damage inspection teams. We have nearly 60 teams out there now. And so hopefully very similar to the message that the sheriff has sent out, we're trying to best staff this incident, but it's an amazing, daunting task to get through at all levels. To that end, there's the work that the sheriff just indicated. We still have over 130,000 acres burning, nearly 6,000 firefighting personnel assigned to this, and it's been an amazing effort for fire and law, the United States Forest Service, EMS, and local government really truly coming along, standing side by side to minimize duplications to best serve this community. Because this, I can tell you, in my 37 careers, is one of the most daunting tasks, just the firefight and the damage inspection alone to best serve the community. And I'm sure that the sheriff would agree that it's probably in the top couple spots for him as far as the daunting tasks. And I just want to assure the public that we are along side by side addressing all those issues. Thank you.
So before we open it up for questions, I want to point out a few things. So if you want to sign up to get updates as we release information on the incident, just go to this tiny URL up here. It's tinyurl.com/2018 campfire. You can also, for the public, there's an app in the App Store called Ready for Wildfire. There's two different benefits on that app. There's one that's a map of the state of California, shows where the active fires are anywhere in the state of California. And then there's another part of the app that shows the active incidents by name. If you click on the incident name, it will take you to that incident and give you all the information on that specific fire, up to and including any phone number to call and try to get more information from the actual fire itself. With that being said, we will open it up for questions. We'll do it just like we have the last few days, where you will pose the question, I'll repeat the question, and the discipline specific to the question will come up and answer it.
Has PG&E given us any notice about when some of the gas or power lines might be restored to the affected areas?
So the question specific to PG&E restoring power and gas to the specific threatened areas.
Good evening. My name is Aaron Johnson. I'm Vice President of the Community Wildfire Safety Program at PG&E. So our process, we are about 80% complete in the town of Paradise with our damage assessment. We are about 100% complete with the assessment of the gas system. We have not yet gotten access to the towns of Polga, Concow, and Magalia. We had yesterday 25,000 customers out of electric service. We got that number down to 23,400 today. We still have 12,200 gas customers out of service. The basic process that we're going through right now is we are trying to restore power in the areas where the fire did not reach, but we had to proactively de-energized some lines at the request of CAL FIRE for circuits that were in danger of being affected by the fire. So we've been able to restore power to a number of those communities. And then right now we are working to restore power to the remaining homes when we're allowed to do so. And then there's been significant damage to the system, and so there's an expectation that we'll have a longer rebuild process after that.
Any estimate on the length of that rebuild process?
It's too early to say at this time.
Has FEMA come to the county yet, and if they have, where are they set up at?
So the question is, has FEMA come to the county yet, and where are they set up if they have?
Good evening, Casey Hatcher, Butte County Public Information Officer. FEMA has arrived. They're a great federal partner, and they have begun their staging out in the Oroville area.
Sheriff, with many victims found in cars and now more victims found in homes, can you talk again about why Amber Alert style messages weren't sent out and what evacuation notices were sent out and when the morning of the fire?
So the question is regarding Amber Alerts and alerting during the fire.
Thank you. So I appreciate the question, and first off, we are still in the middle of this fight, and ultimately we'll go back and take a look at that and be able to provide more definitive answers in the future. And I respect and understand the desire to know that stuff now. I certainly want to know it, but my staff is committed to doing the things that we need to do to get through this, and then we can go back and ultimately look at that. But that said, you have to keep in mind that this was an extraordinarily chaotic and rapidly moving situation. We had the fire that started in a remote area. It takes a while for our fire resources to get there. And then from that point, trying to determine the path of travel and whether or not that's going to affect populated areas. It takes time, and then to get law enforcement assets in the area and start developing a plan to put those notifications. There were notifications sent out, but as I said over and over again, this fire was moving so rapidly we couldn't keep ahead of it. We did our absolute best. In terms of Amber style alert, we use a emergency mass notification system, as well as our efforts to notify people when we're in the communities. We employed that. You also have to consider the fact that this is a remote area, and although we can reach homes with landlines, if there are cell phones, it's possible that the area would prevent it from receiving the signal. I also think it's important to keep in mind this. We were trying to move tens of thousands of people out of an area very rapidly, with the fire coming very rapidly. And no matter what your plan is to do that, no plan will ever work 100% when you're dealing with that much chaos. You also have to take into account that it's possible that people received the warning and didn't immediately act, which may have put them in a vehicle on the roadway in harm's way, but because they didn't take the advice soon enough, time ticked away. And finally, as we've seen time and time again, just because we give a warning doesn't necessarily mean people will pay attention to that. And I don't think it would be appropriate to draw the conclusion that because they were found in their house, that you can automatically assume that they weren't notified. It is possible that they were notified, but they chose not to heed the warning, and we have heard of stories like that. And quite frankly, I think that it's within the realm of possibility that a lot of people were lulled into a false sense. There were fires in the past that had started in that area, but we'd always, CAL FIRE, they're the ones that fight fires, but they were always able to stop it before it got across the canyon into it. And I think oftentimes people rely upon their past experience, and perhaps in this case to their detriment. When we're done dealing with the chaos that we're dealing with, when we are done with the important work that we're doing of trying to assist CAL FIRE in putting out the fire, in terms of supporting that mission, and in terms of protecting the areas that we have under evacuation, and work diligently to try to identify where human remains are and collect them, then we will start looking at lessons that can be learned from this event. But I think that it's important to keep my resources focused on what we're doing, which is getting the mission. And I would ask that you understand that and appreciate that. We're getting a lot of requests and calls from people who want us to spend a lot of time going back and collecting data, and there will be a time for that. But right now, I need to focus on the fight in front of us.
Were all of the remains found today in Paradise?
So the question is, were all of the remains today found in Paradise? And correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but you did say that all the remains today were found in Paradise?
I'll let your fellow reporters answer the question. What's the answer to the question? Paradise. Thank you.
Fatigue and resources, like what is it that's needed out there right now? What is the morale and fatigue of those that are working?
So the question is fatigue and resources, where do the troops stand right now? So I don't often feel comfortable talking on other people's behalf. This is the one area that I do feel comfortable talking about, both our law enforcement and our firefighters. For us, this is a passion and a calling. It's not a job for us. And so we're proud and privileged to serve this community. And it's been a month or so since we've had a major firefight. And our firefighters are dedicated committed to this community. And as long as we're here, you can consider us your local fire department.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. That is absolutely correct. I'll echo those. And I will tell you that, our law enforcement assets are dedicated, and they're out there serving. And we've got a lot of support, and we appreciate that. That said, I have many staff members who are personally affected by this fire, having been evacuated from their homes, and in some cases having lost their homes. I think we're around 30 staff members. And today, I had to make the executive decision to order them to take time off because they wouldn't do it on their own. We had asked them if they would take time off, and they wouldn't do it because they were so committed to this. And so today, I ordered them to take time off because they need to get that. But we're tired. This is stressful, but I can assure you that our commitment to this and our heart are fully invested in this process.
Any update on the cause, investigation into the cause?
So the question is there any update on the cause? And we're still calling it under investigation.
Any update on when people can return home, maybe in the Paradise area or surrounding areas?
So the question is there any update on when people can return home? And you want to speak to that? I don't think we have time.
Thank you. We don't specifically have a time frame. I suspect in the next few days to come, like I mentioned earlier, and the sheriff has mentioned, we have additional staff coming in to minimize the risk to people, so we can actually make those re-entries possible. We actually have a dedicated team that's a multi-agency, multidisciplinary team working on repopulating areas as they're made safe, just specifically for that task, not just Paradise, but for the rural areas as well.
All right.
For health, when it comes to the septic tanks possibly contaminating ground wells, how does that work? Is there a way to remediate that? Is there a way to recover from that?
So the question is specific to septic tanks and
Septic tanks sinking, ground wells contaminated.
and ground wells.
Hi, I know there are lots of questions about the recovery, about the debris on the properties, and cleaning that up and what that process will look like. That's a great question, and the county is going to be setting up a local assistance center. We'll have information on that in the coming days, and we want residents to go to that local assistance center and ask those types of questions. So what are the hazards on their property? How can they clean those up? Each situation will be a little bit different. So I hesitate to speak to them specifically, but we really encourage residents to follow our social channels and buttecounty.net for information about that local assistance center and go find out the specifics about cleaning up your property. Thanks.
That concludes our press conference for tonight. Thank you very much.